Hello everyone, I'm Polly and today I'm building Lilac, an island inspired by my hometown. And before I talk more about this island, I just want to let you all know that you can choose to watch this video without my voiceover. Just go ahead to the video settings and select the alternative audio track. And if you just want to enjoy some lo-fi with my speed build, and I'll give you a second to decide whether or not you want to watch this with a voiceover. Okay, and for the ones that don't mind listening to me yapping for almost 2 hours, like I said, this island is inspired by my hometown, and if you've been here for a while, you've probably seen this area that I'm working on right now. This is the entrance area, and there's a beach here, it's a beachfront. And I thought that I was going to work on more beaches on this island when I started it, but I ended up only working on the little beach that is right next to the airport. I mean, the two beaches right next to the airport, to be honest. The beaches that I worked on the beginning of the video, basically. Here I have a code for the road that is different because as you can see here, this road code, like the middle part of the code, it looks different. The color looks a little different, and someone on the comments, I'm sorry, I can't remember your name, but I will put it on the screen. They made the code for the road that matches the rest of the road with the sand underneath, and I'm so thankful for that because that different color was really bothering me when I was building this. I even considered changing the road code because of it, but when I did this area, I didn't really have the time to look for all the codes that I was 100% happy about. And you'll see when I start working on the neighborhood itself, because my hometown is basically a neighborhood next to the beach. So this is the beach area. The whole south of the island is basically the beach area, and then towards the north, the middle and the north is the neighborhood itself. And when I started working on the neighborhood, I was not happy with the road code and sidewalk, but I also didn't have time to look for a better one because at the time I still thought that I was going to upload the speed builds of this island like I normally do, with weekly speed builds. But, I decided to take it slower this time and just work on the island, take my time, and then have a final speed build in the end, and that's what you're watching right now. So I ended up changing some codes, but fortunately I didn't have to change the code for the beach road because, I had a very kind watcher, subscriber, hopefully, that created the middle part to match the rest of the road, and I was super happy and super grateful. So the beach area is going to be a little bit different from the rest of the neighborhood in terms of aesthetic, because this is a little, let's just say, a poorer area, and I try to combine the more simpler buildings, with the storefronts, make some simple buildings with some more modern. The bars that are going to be like the beachfront, those are a little bit more contemporary looking and a little fancier because, the houses are for people to live in, and maybe they don't really have that much money to spend on a good house, while the bars are a little fancier because they are for tourists and visitors of the beach. so they tend to be a little bit fancier. I did some fake buildings, and I thought that this island was going to have more fake buildings than it ended up having, to be honest, because each villager house actually takes up so much space, because I wanted to have front yards and backyards, and that takes a lot of space, right? So I ended up not really doing a lot of fake buildings. I still ran out of space for design codes, which is always unfortunate. I wish we had more, right? But, this is just what I showed months ago. To be honest, this island didn't take me that long to build. I just had kind of a break when I decided to have a final full speed build. I didn't work on this island in the beginning of summer, and I started working on it in May, I think. And I only really started working on it, like trying to finish the island, towards the end of August and September. I know I should have been working on it for longer. I should have had this speed build sooner, but like I said, I decided to take this island a little slower and just work on it when I felt like working on it. I was kind of feeling like I was starting to get burned out, which was something that I really didn't want to happen. And also, this island turned out to not be a great island to have weekly speed builds, because some areas just feel way too big to be divided into smaller speed builds, so they would be gigantic speed builds. Especially the neighborhood part of the island, it looks like a whole build, right? So it wasn't making sense. Like, I wasn't being able to plan speed builds, like individual speed builds for the island. Like this entrance area was easier and still gigantic, like right? It is a lot of space that I decorated on the first speed build, because it's a huge area, but it didn't make sense to divide it into smaller builds, in my humble opinion. So I'm really glad that I decided to just do a final speed build. Here I'm starting to work on the bars that I was talking about. I decided to have this deck, and I'll use it in other areas of the island as well. It is a great deck, and when you don't really know what to do, especially with beaches, it's a great idea to just put some deck, right? Also, I didn't decorate the other beaches, mainly because the beaches are just beaches. I'm basing this island on a real place, like a real life location, and the beaches here have nothing. Like the sand part, they have nothing. I decorated this beach right next to the bars and right next to the entrance, because it would be weird to not have access to those beaches. And I mean, next to the bars, it's okay to have like some beach chairs and all that, and beach towels, and make it look like people are enjoying the beach. But on a beach that, on the other side, it's not going to be like a touristy beach. I made it more like fishing area, fish commercial area. So it didn't really make sense to have people going to the beach there. Even if people go to those beaches, it's like the fishermen and their family, probably. So there isn't really a lot of decoration involved in that sort of beach day. But I decided to just block off the beaches. I tried my best to block them in a way that it's not like in your face, that it's blocked, right? Because I like to be subtle when I block areas. And also, it wouldn't make sense to have access to the beaches because most of the beaches will be like next to the forested area. So, I didn't feel like it was necessary to have access to the beach, right? I left access where I thought made sense, but I just blocked the beaches where I didn't think it would make sense to have them open. And also, towards the end of the island, I just wanted to finish it because I really want to work on my next island. I will probably take a little break and take some time to get the 3 stars and all that on the first island, because I worked on this island till like this week. I finished this island this week, literally days ago, and thankfully I was kind of editing while I was building. Not always, but I tried to edit some stuff while I was working on the island, so it wouldn't be like a super huge workload to edit everything in the end. But towards the end of the island, I built it in a few days, so I still had a lot to edit when I finished the island. And I just worked really hard and fast to have everything finished in time. But all of this to say that I was ready to finish the island, and I didn't have the brain capacity to make it work with the forested area, make it all look weird. Because if you have a beach next to a forest, it doesn't really look like a beach that you're supposed to go and enjoy the beach. That's just my opinion, right? At least here where I live, kind of the vibe, So I just blocked off some areas of the island, and I didn't include the campsite. No, I did not. I'm sorry, campsite. I honestly didn't know where to include it because there isn't any camping here. So it didn't make sense to have a campsite. I think I hit it pretty well. I'm not going to show you where I hit it. Or I am. I can't remember, honestly. We'll see. I honestly think that I actually think that I showed where I put it. I mean, you're going to end up seeing where it is, right? But just don't tell anyone, okay? Just working on some more fake buildings here, and it's so weird looking at this footage because this was so long ago. I mean, I can see the resident services from here. What? At this moment, you can't see the resident services. Actually, that was kind of a concern that I had when I was doing this beat. I didn't want to see the resident services, and it was super close to the beach. And I didn't necessarily want that, but I'm also super lazy when it comes to picking a map. I usually just pick one of the first maps that show up and don't think too much about it, try to work with it. And I was really concerned that you are going to end up being able to see the resident services, which I really did not want that, because I wanted to give you the impression that the neighborhood wasn't that close to the beach. There's going to be roads with forests surrounding them that lead to the beach. I mean, from the beach to the neighborhood and vice versa. So I was really concerned that you were going to be able to see the resident services, and I'm really glad that you can't, because I put these cliffs that are actually based off how the beach looks, to be honest, which was very convenient. I usually don't really like how the cliffs look you know, because they look so straight, and sometimes I just want to have like a smooth cliff, and I can have it, which really bothers me sometimes, but here it kind of worked out and I was happy for it. And you know, I used a lot of wheat fields on the both this side and the other side of the I mean, on the other side there aren't that many wheat fields, but this area is so laggy. I didn't intend this island to be laggy because, as you'll see in like while I build the island, there are a lot of open spaces on this island. It doesn't feel like it is super like busy or anything. So I was kind of surprised that I have lag on this island, and I actually there's so many trees, but this island has a 4-star rating because of traffic hazard, probably the lag, and because it doesn't have enough trees. Yes, Isabel really had the nerve to tell me that I don't have enough trees on this island. I don't know what she's talking about, okay? I mean, right now, it doesn't look like it has a lot of trees, but trust me, it has. It has a bunch of trees. So, I don't know, man. Okay, so this sidewalk, I end up changing it. There was nothing wrong with it, okay? It felt too bricky, you know? And I didn't want a brick path. I wanted sidewalk, like very specific sidewalk. If you've ever been to Portugal, we have very specific sidewalk, and this was not working out. I'm not saying that I'm 100% happy with the sidewalk that I ended up picking for the island, but you know, I almost gave up looking for a road code and a sidewalk code because I didn't like anything that I was finding, but I also didn't want to have to make path, you know, it's kind of a hard deal, right? So, you know, on this, when I was working on this, I still thought that this was going to be that a week's speed build. So I just had to run with it, and I thought, you know what, I'm just going to look for other codes when I have more time. And I kind of regret starting to work with these codes because I will change them in like a few minutes on the video, but in real life it was some days after, you know. And yes, it was still this month, the month that it was a few days after I worked on this area that I found the other code. I don't even remember how I found it. And the thing that really made me want to find another code for the road and sidewalk was a little cul-de-sac that I'm going to have. These designs didn't work for a cul-de-sac. I tried to make one with these codes, but I just couldn't. And then I couldn't find a good code that could... I thought that I was going to have to give up on the cul-de-sac idea. But then I found this miraculous code that works and looks better. And, you know, it even makes the roads look a little bit busier, which is great. Because I didn't want this to feel like there aren't many people in the streets or anything here, but it looks lived in, you know? So I wanted to have that aspect here as well, obviously. I was also trying to kind of hide the cliff, you know? I didn't want you to be able to see the cliff from this side. I just had to work with a lot of hiding stuff, especially here on this area, super close to the cliffs that are behind the whole beach area. So yeah, what you're seeing here, the codes, these are going to change, and obviously I cut out the part where I change all the codes because I didn't have to change the road layout or anything, but the position of the codes was inverted. As you can see, the sidewalk path, the sidewalk code, whatever, has the limits of the sidewalk, in it, and the road has nothing. But the other road code has the beginning of the sidewalk in it, and the sidewalk doesn't have that border around it. So I basically had to invert some of the area. It was not easy, okay? It was a headache. I was like, why did I change the codes? This is so much work. But at the same time, I was still in the beginning of the island, thank God. Like, I did a big part of road and sidewalk at that point, and I included it on this video just because it's going to look the same. It's just going to have a different code. I still wanted to show you how I created this. I'm currently doing a little gas station, and for the first time ever, I'm going to do a car wash that is inspired by Dana's car wash. Dana's Crossing, I believe it's her handle. She's so talented. She's such an inspiration. I wish I had 1% of her talent when it comes to terraforming, especially. I'm so jealous of her terraforming skills. But I'm just putting some road and sidewalk, and it's kind of painful when I think back and remember all the work that it took to convert the other codes. But whatever, it's easier now that I'm just watching with you. It's if you think, oh, this is easy, it's bit build. Yeah, I feel that when I'm watching back the footage, and I mean, once it is edited. When it's not edited, nightmare, because it was so easy to decorate the island and be like, yeah, I'll just have a full speed build at the end. But editing almost 2 hours of footage, that's not fun. That's not fun, and I figured that out soon enough. So there's this main road here with some plants in the middle, like an avenue. And so I tried to also have that. I used the dirt path, like in-game dirt path design. The in-game dirt path, just that. Just to make it look like a little bit more natural. I had some issues with using the in-game dirt path and the stone path that I use on the houses, because you see this white stone sidewalk code, it doesn't how do you say, like some codes stay like intact when you put them on top of in-game path, but others, like, they morph into the in-game path. And that was happening with the stone path that I use on the yards. So there's this green line between the stone and the little flower beds. That's how you say it. I don't even know. You get what I'm saying, right? And that usually bothers me, but there's so many things that I wish I could change that I just can't. And if I sit here and cry about it, I won't have anything done ever. Like, I always have something to complain about this game, right? And My biggest complaint isn't even about the dirt path and stone and whatever. It's so hard to make a road with a ramp, because here there isn't really stairs, like stairs on the sidewalks or anything to bring people to an elevated part, but the road has ups and downs. So I wanted to have that on this island as well, but as always, when I tried to do that, I had this huge problem that consisted in how am I going to do that? Because you can't have custom designs on the ramps for some reason that I still don't understand to this day, to be honest. And, I used white ramps. It is not an ideal solution, but it was a solution that I could come up with. And you'll see it, in the meantime, right? But I was really, I was like, okay, so I can use the natural ramps, but they also don't make sense because they're super green and the road is dark. Even the new code, like, it is gray, right? And the other ramps don't really work. The closest thing is stairs, and you don't really, you can't drive with stairs, you can't drive up the stairs. So, that was the biggest thing for me. It wasn't even the dirt path and stone path or anything like that, because you don't really see it that much. Once everything's put together, you don't really care, but the road, you care, right? And at first, I was going to have this area on the ground level. I wasn't going to have the cliff or anything, but it was just looking so flat. The island was looking flat. I wasn't liking it, but I also didn't know what to do with that whole situation with the ramps. So, I started by doing a flat street, but that's going to change in I don't know how many minutes, to be honest. I'm still working with this code. See what I mean when I said that I did a huge part with this code and it was painful to have to change everything? This is what I mean. I did a pretty big area with the wrong code. And here it is, the new code, finally. And it is a more pastel-y tone as well, which I really appreciate because the other road was kind of dark and it wasn't bringing the right vibe to the island, So I'm really happy that I found this code. It is really pretty. The leaves give it a lived-in feel. And also, there's always a lot of leaves on the road, and even next to the, what are they called? The thingies where the water drainers? Is it? Drainers on the road? Do you know what I'm talking about? They're usually filled with leaves. So that, nice touch right there, right? So this is the little cul-de-sac here. I had to be a little bit creative because the sidewalk obviously didn't have the diagonal shape, and I didn't want to use the sidewalk that belonged to the road design. So I just had to be a little bit creative when it comes to diagonal roads. But I managed to figure it out. It looks fine. I did little gardens to bring out the nature as well. Here I am wasting time with something that I'll change in the future, but I still kept it on the speed build because it's going to look like this for a long time. I only changed this area towards the end. I didn't really know what I was going to do there, so I thought that area was going to be forested. Ends up being the area where I put her house because, yes, of course, I had to forget to include her house in the plans. What else is new? But, it ended up looking fine, just a little waste of time. There's always a little waste of time whenever you're working on an island because plans can change. If you don't like something, just change it up. Even if you've already worked so much on that area just like I did, and you decide that, you know what, I'm going to change all the codes on this island, they're not working, just do it. If that makes you want to work on that island, do it. I don't know what to tell you, but don't be afraid to change things up when they're not working. I feel like people get put on too much pressure on themselves when it comes to those sort of things. Yes, it's a lot of work, but it's also worth it most times, so just do it. Here I'm just planning out where the houses will be. I won't place the houses in the right place right away because I didn't have all the right villagers right away either, and I only started putting the houses in place once I had a good amount of villagers, like a good amount of right villagers for the island. But I started working on the backyards and front yards and all that just to determine where each villager was going to live. I'm also including some houses with some yards with beaches, some cute gardens. I thought of using some grass designs. I don't know if you've seen those, but they weren't really working because of the thing that I was saying with the dirt path underneath the flowers and bushes, and just the in-game grass is good enough, right? It's green, it's pretty, especially in this time of year. This island is set in May, so everything's super bright, everything's super green, and all the colors shine super brightly, and I really wanted it for this island. I wanted vibrant colors and just a happy feeling. This island, to be quite honest with you, is a little bit more inspired by my hometown when I was younger. I mean, some things are inspired by how it is nowadays. Some things are inspired by how it was when I was younger. And the vibe that I wanted to bring was definitely from when I was younger. So yeah, I just included some trees. I included some trees here in the middle of the cul-de-sac as well. There are a lot of cul-de-sacs here and like roads that have no ending. And when I'm working on my islands, I like to make them loop around. I've said it before, but it wouldn't be inspired by my hometown if it didn't have cul-de-sacs and dead ends, so I had to include them as well. Here I am working on the car wash. It took me a little bit to figure out the layout and how many display thingies I needed, but I ended up figuring it out, and I think it looks super cute. And I finished it, and then I was like, you know what? This doesn't lead to anywhere, and it should have like an exit, right? So I'll include an exit. It is going to be super hidden, and people that are visiting will probably not understand what that is for because it's just a road behind the whole gas station and car wash. but you know, just in my head it makes sense, and I needed to do it for myself. You know, I know that it's dangerous to have trees and all that inflatable things next to a gas station, but this is a game. This doesn't need to be super how do you say, realistic. So it's okay to have a little forest behind and next to the gas station. It isn't that far from reality, to be honest, so it's okay. I mean, I don't know if it's okay, but whatever. I also included these garbage bins because this island's DI is going to be set on Sunday, and on Sundays here, there's the whole thing, the how do you call it? Like the trash trucks come and take the trash out of the bins, you know? So just I didn't know what to put on the sidewalks to make it look a little bit more lived in. So I went with the garbage bins. You know, I had to use something. It's easier with Japanese-inspired islands because I can just put a bunch of stuff. But truth be told, here there isn't a lot of stuff happening on the sidewalks, and I didn't want them to be empty because it doesn't look good in an aesthetic perspective of doing an island, because this island is inspired by my hometown, but it isn't a recreation of it. So it's okay to have some different things, you know. It doesn't have to look exactly like it, but you know, I just wanted to use an element that is inspired by my hometown. I don't know what that chair is, you know, but sometimes I see chairs like on next to the road, so I just whatever, you know, some people just want to chill next to the road. Like I said, the roads that lead to and from the beach are surrounded by trees, by forested area. Here I struggled a little bit with the layout of the road, but I ended up figuring it out, and you know, it works. I didn't really show me putting the dirt path on the ground level, like that this road is going to connect to the road in front of the gas station, but I didn't really show that part because I thought it was kind of boring, and you know, it is what it is, right? I don't really have to explain this bit, just road. And most of this speed build is just me putting road. I'm sorry, but it's crazy because in real life, like in real time, this speed build is like over months, and here I'm just watching it all come together. Also, did you notice that I changed my outfit? I only realized that when I finished cutting the video, you know, I was like, wait, in the beginning I have a different outfit. What happened there? And I honestly don't remember why or when I changed my outfit, but you know, if you didn't notice, like, fun fact, right? This area here is also going to be surrounded by forest. I mean, not this side here, right? There's going to be a house there, but on the other side there's going to be some forest. Basically, where I didn't know what to do there, I put forest because it isn't that far off from reality, so it's okay. Thankfully, I live in an area that is really easy. Like, if I don't have ideas for an area on the island, I just put some forest and it works. Also, the sidewalk, I was a little bit I didn't really know what I was going to do in terms of sidewalk. Decided to put some bus stops, just so you know. There's a bus that takes you to the beach. So I know there are no buses in the game, but there are the bus stops. So, you know, a little touch to kind of break the fencing. I also tried to break a little with I tried to break the fencing a little with different fences, the corrugated fence and the barbed wire fence. And I like to do that because when you only use one fence, I mean, sometimes it makes sense, right? But other times it becomes a little monotonous, and I didn't want that. So I broke it off a little bit with different fencing, adding a bunch of trees. I like to use the pine trees. I mean, the pine trees have to be one of my favorite items from the update because, oh my god, they really save a forested area, right? And I also use some evergreen, is that what they're called? And some other plants, you know, potted plants. Try to hide them. If you want to make a dense forest area, that's the best way to do it because you can't really place the trees right next to each other for some reason. So adding some, they're not fake plants, but you know, these sort of more potted plants, and also the pine trees really help. I also included some of decayed trees because I think they give a nice vibe. Here I am putting a forest behind a forest. It's not a forest, but I mean, I put some trees behind the gas station just to make it look a little fuller. I didn't really know what to do behind the gas station, and when you don't know what to do, just put some trees. You know, it looks cute, it looks dynamic, and it saves a lot of builds. I'm about to do the cliff that I was talking about behind the gas station, but first let's put Gloria's house in place. She has one of the biggest front and backyards. This was the first house that I decorated, like the first yard that I decorated, and I soon realized that I couldn't do this for every single villager on this island because there's simply no space for it. But you know, she's a fancy girl, so she deserves a fancy yard. Front yard and backyard. I also decorated it. I don't even know if you're going to be able to see that, but all the yards are accessible. You can walk around. I don't know if Shep's backyard is accessible. I don't think it is, but all the other yards are pretty much all accessible, so you can go there and see them up close. Here I am doing the cliff, you know, adding some height to this neighborhood area because I was really not liking how flat it was looking, and you know, I just gave in and used the ramps because I had used them in other areas as well. So you know what, at some point you just gotta accept your faith and roll with it, basically. And I'm really happy that I decided to do this part of the neighborhood a little bit more elevated because I definitely think that it looks better. Here I am doing that road that I was talking about that you can't really see, but you know, just it's good for me. Also, the width of the road and the ramps didn't really match, so it looks a little bit wonky. I know, but there's nothing I can do, okay? I try to do my best. That's what we're all doing right now, right? We're all doing our best, and please don't judge me. judge Nintendo for not allowing us to use custom designs on the ramps. And let's pray that in the next title, the ramps and bridges will be customizable, because that would be awesome. So awesome. Also, there are some areas on these higher parts of the neighborhood that I won't work right away. I will only work towards the end. So, as you've probably figured out by now, I did this island. I wasn't trying to do one area at the time. I jumped from area to area because that's how I used to build my islands before I started this channel, and I didn't have the pressure to make a speed build per week. I just worked on an area that, if I'm inspired to work on this right now, I'm going to work on this, and I'll continue working on that other area when the inspiration hits. And I'm really happy that I decided to do that. I didn't feel burnout while doing this island. It was actually kind of relaxing. And if you've been playing for years now, and if you also make content, you know how tiring it can be to be constantly thinking of the next build, the next area, try to make an island like that, like an area each time. Some people prefer it that way, but I'm definitely more of a spontaneous builder. Also, the things that you see here on the video, I don't plan my builds beforehand. Some people do, and I think they're amazing. I wish I had the patience and the skill set that it requires to do something like that. I'm not like that. I build it if it's the first time you're seeing it, it's the first time I'm seeing it as well, and that's why there's always some back and forth with my designs and my ideas for the island. And being able to work on multiple areas and not just one single area at the time really helps me, because, I don't have to, if I run out of items, I don't have to go running to a treasure island, get more items and all that. It's so stressful, and treasure islands can be stressful. And especially for me, I'm a person that has close to zero patience. So it was honestly so awesome being able to just, I don't have enough items, let's jump on to the next area and deal with it later. And if you've tried to build an island like an area at a time and it's not really motivating you to work on the island, just try and do multiple areas at the same time. I started this road minutes ago, and I'm now decorating the center part. This is what I'm talking about. I'm constantly going back and forth with the villager houses, especially because I didn't put them in place when I was working on, like, when I was dividing the spaces and all that. So it was kind of hard for me sometimes to kind of figure out the whole layout for the yards and all that. And so I basically draw where it's going to be, put some stuff like fencing and all that, and then I work on it, like really decorate it once I have the villager houses. And it was really refreshing for me after years of having to do one build at a time for my weekly speed builds. It felt really awesome. And I had to go and grab trees a bunch of times, because you think that a pocket's worth of trees is going to be enough, but once you start working, you realize really quickly that it is not enough. But once I ran out of trees, I went to the next project, and it really helped me to keep going. I know that I said that I didn't really start working on the island right away, and I took a little break from working on the island. But once I started working again on the island, it was so easy for me. It felt natural. I didn't feel pressured, and I didn't set a due date for this island either. So that really helped me to not be too stressed about it. And if I needed to change things, no matter how much time it would require, I was comfortable with doing it. And, it's just, I really didn't want to hate this island, and I'm really glad that I don't, because it is a very special island to me, and I think that it turned out super cute. It looks like a super tiny island in comparison to other islands that I've done. And I've done some other islands that occupy less space on the island itself, but look bigger than this one, because this island looks like a giant neighborhood. And looking back, like, how was I supposed to divide this into different speed builds, right? Here I'm doing a little construction zone because this area is still growing somehow, and there's always construction somewhere, So this is going to be one of the construction sites. I'm going to have two on the island, and the other one was in a little plot of space that I had no idea what I was going to do there. It was way too small to have a house there, but also didn't make sense to have forest there. So I ended up just doing a little construction site and using some of the construction items that I rarely use. Here I am placing a bunch of houses. At this point, I had a good amount of villagers on the island, so I started placing their houses. I will be honest with you, I kind of speedrun the last villagers. I did at least one. I think I did 2 villager hunts for this island here on the channel, and some of the villagers I just grabbed them from treasure islands, because at one point, once I had all the areas like laid out for the villagers, I just needed the villagers to work on the houses, right? And so I just tried to be as quick as possible to get all the right villagers. Here I tried to make the houses look like they are together, like twin houses. I think that's how you say it. But I don't know if I nailed it, to be honest. But, at some point, you just gotta accept your fate. Again, I just accepted my fate lots of times with this island, because why stress about things that aren't really that stressful, With all the decorations and all that, you don't really notice it that much, so it's okay. Here I'm doing Ari's yard, and it started off with a tiny plot, but I made it a little bit bigger just so she could have a pool and a relaxing area, because I wasn't really going to use this little corner of the island, so I might as well give her a nice yard, right? I need to be good to my villagers. And again, you can access in this little area. I tried to make most of the areas on the island accessible, even though I blocked off a lot of areas. But I'm just a girl, right? And I renovated all the villager houses. That will be at the end of the video. The end will just be the houses. And I tried to bring the villagers' personality into their houses, but also it be inspired by the decoration that is usually found here. And I know how people decorate their houses because I visited some houses, and sometimes I also see the listings when they're for sale. Yes, I am a weird person. Like, I do this thing. I don't know if you do it as well. I don't know if anyone else does it, but if I do it, probably someone else in the world does it as well. When I look at houses, I try to think of how people live inside. I don't really know how to explain this, but I just like to imagine how people use their house, basically. And I like to see how they're decorated. So sometimes I see the listings online, and sometimes the houses are decorated like I was expecting. Sometimes they're not, and I have a good surprise, So, it's just one of my weird hobbies, if you can even call it that. I don't know if that's a hobby, to be honest. But here I am. This is a contemporary house that, I wanted to include one, but I didn't really know where. So this is going to be behind the road that leads to the road in front of the gas station. I just had this empty corner of the island and I didn't have plans for it, so I put the fancy house here. And I didn't really follow anyone's tutorial or anything. I just looked at some houses on Pinterest and tried to replicate them to the best of my abilities. So you'll probably find someone with a better tutorial for a contemporary house, but I really wanted to include one, and I'm happy with how it turned out. It is kind of hidden away. It's not hidden away, but it's not accessible. Okay, so don't think that you'll be able to come near it. You won't. I'm so sorry. But, it wouldn't make sense to be able to access this house. I wanted it to feel like it was further away from the other houses, not only like in terms of where it's placed, but also the reachability of it, like how reachable it is. I don't know if that's a word, but I wanted to give it like a fancier feel, I wanted to feel fancier because these houses, these mansions literally are really expensive here. So I also wanted to have that sort of more, fancier approach to it. And I just kept surrounding the island with trees, with bushes, with nature. And I didn't really know what to do next to that house, so I also put a forest next to it. And I don't know if I'm going to do it right away or if I'll work on something else in the meantime. Oh yeah, I forgot that I didn't decorate this part at this point. I thought that road was done, and then I realized that it wasn't, and it's not done for a long time, because then I remembered that this was also unfinished. So I went back and finished this fake building that I was really struggling in the beginning. I did this when I thought I was doing the second speed build for the island, and I was struggling so much with this building for some reason. But I felt the inspiration that day and I just worked on it, because sometimes you gotta do it. When you feel like the inspiration kicks in, you better just work on it. Don't keep working on whatever you were working on, even if that distracts you, because who knows if next time when you tell yourself, okay, I'm ready to work on that area, who knows if you're still going to be motivated and inspired to do it, right? At least I am like that I am that way and I need to work on it right away so the inspiration doesn't vanish. And, I also have the worst memory ever, so I'll probably just forget what I had planned for that area. So I might as well work on it right away. That's just me. I'm also including more nature to this area in front of the Able Sisters. And, this area is a little bit more commercial. I didn't really know how to include the resident services with the rest of the island. So I did a little bit of a commercial area. And it's also close to the gas station. So in my head, it makes sense, Put some decorations, some little things. And very simple, you can walk just fine here. Added some cars, so it looks like people are actually going into those businesses. And a bus stop. And here I am putting a bunch of trees on this area as well. And trying to hide this peninsula and beach as best as I could. And this is Shep's house right next to that fancy house. I tried my best to not make them look like they were right next to each other, but I don't think I nailed it. I feel like you can still pretty much see that they are literally next to each other. I didn't really want that, but I guess that I miscalculated the space, which, it can happen, I'm not the best at math, and you can't really expect much from me when it comes to math and mathing and all that. But, just adding some more decorations, going back to this house again. And, as I said, I just put stuff as I had more items. Here I am working on the road again, and I didn't really know how to connect this avenue with the beach, and the transition isn't really that smooth. But what else could I do, right? They are completely different shades. I could not run away from it, so I better embrace it. And but I still feel like it's a good amount of space for a transition between this beach area and the rest of the neighborhood. Correct me if I'm wrong. Here I am just figuring out that what I did with the barbed wire fence wasn't really going to work out, and I needed to include my house. There's always something that I forget. And I think it's so funny that on this area, you can see, I think you can see all of the villagers that I had to replace. The last 3 villagers that I had to replace, which were Drake, Quilton. I don't even remember his name. I was a little bit scared that he wasn't going to leave, because whenever I have that villager, it's really hard for him to just leave me alone for some reason. But who was the other one? I don't even remember who was the 3rd villager, but they were all just hanging out when I was decorating this area. And by decorating, it's just putting more forest. Yeah, it's surrounding this whole area with forest. I also forgot that I had some bamboo, like small bamboo that looks like sugarcane or whatever. At least before the big update, it was our sugarcane. And I wanted to use it on the beach, but I honestly forgot that I had it. Here are the last villager houses, I believe, which were Peggy, Melba, and Shep. And once I had all the villager houses, I was finally able to finish all the yards and everything. I remembered that I didn't finish this area, So I came back to it. I probably also gathered a few more trees at this point. I think trees were the thing that I had to grab the most because I kept running out of trees. I don't know why, I mean, it's not enough for Isabel. Turns out that I don't have enough trees for Isabel. I thought she was going to say that I have too many trees on the island. Turns out I don't have enough trees. I still don't understand where that idea comes from. I don't know if he needs some glasses. I don't know what's going on, but I'm not going to question or it's not that important to me to have 5 stars. Honestly, it makes literally no difference. And not having lilies of the valley spreading everywhere also was really helpful. There are very beautiful flowers. I think they kind of look weird next to the other ones because they are shaped differently, so sometimes it's hard to include them. But sometimes they're just too much. Once you have one, they start spreading like wildfires, and I wasn't about to. I didn't want that for my life. I already had so many flowers laying around. I didn't need more. Here I am working on this little yard. I wanted to have bigger yards for these girlies, but I just ran out of space, unfortunately. But I still tried to give them some colors that, I thought made sense with them. And I mean, Melba's house is so cute, even without being remodeled. I mean, it didn't work for this island at all, and I ended up changing it. But I really like the tone of that house. But anyways, I also put some forest. This is what I was talking about, the beach next to the forest, because, I just wanted to surround the houses in forest, on both sides, I also didn't know what to do with this cliff here. Didn't know how to hide it, so I just used some stonework kitchens. And here is the second construction site that I was talking about. And I think it looks good enough, it fills in the space. And it ended up not looking that tiny, in my opinion. Like, I thought that it was going to look very tiny because it's not a lot of space, but I think that big machinery really helps to give the impression that it is bigger than it actually is. And I just put some barbed wire fencing. I know that I said that I like to mix and match some of the fencing to break it off a little bit, but here I don't think I needed it that much. So here I'm doing an abandoned house that I also wanted to include because some buildings here are a little bit abandoned, and it just used this area that I wanted to do a fake building here. I just didn't know if it was going to be an abandoned house or like a fake building that wasn't abandoned. But I think it looks cool. I ended up messing up the trees a little bit, so it is kind of hidden, but it also, I think it adds to the mystery of the abandoned house. It's not supposed to be spooky or anything, okay? It's just an abandoned house. But, I think it looks cute. I think it is a great way to fill in the space. And I think that now I'm just finishing off the last villager yard before I work on our house. And before I work on our house, I still need to do the rest of the beat to the right side of the island. Here I try to make it look like it had a terrace or something. I don't know if it worked. I'm not really happy with these houses here because I wanted them to have more nature behind them, but I ran out of space. So it is what it is. I also added some fruit trees in some of the houses because that's common here, but I also didn't really remember to do it very often. This island is a mix of I ran out of space or I forgot about it, kind of, because it was built in such a long period of time that I ended up forgetting stuff. Like I said, I don't have a memory capacity, you know? I either remember it in the moment or it's gone forever. And I just remember, I mean, not forever, because I eventually remember that I was supposed to do that thing that I completely forgot about. But oh well. Shep's backyard looks a little weird because there's no division between the construction site and the backyard. It's my fault. It's completely my fault. But, you know, I don't think you'll be able to notice it that much, or at least I hope you don't. Right? And I just put some more trees and nature behind it, tried to fill it as much as I could so it looked like, you know, I just wanted this whole area to look like it was being hugged by nature, I guess. This is the last corner of the island that I really hadn't touched yet, and I just put a cliff to kind of separate the house and the beach. Look like it is further away than it actually is. I did this and I mean, I think I nailed it, but also let me know if I did. Do you have that feeling? Like, visit the island tomorrow when I release the DA. Visit it and tell me if I was able to nail that, because I really wanted to know if you had the feeling of it being further away than it actually is. Okay? I know that you can see the house from here at this point, but I feel like I hit it pretty well, to be honest. You'll see in a little bit. This is going to be also a forested area, and I mean, we're so close to finishing the island. It's kind of crazy. Here I added another deck, but this time there isn't going to be any bars or anything. This is going to be like what I was talking about, the commercial side of the beach, you know, where the fishermen come, they sort out the fish to sell. They can also sell to people, like to locals if they go there. That sort of vibe, you know what I mean? So it looks a little bit less like, you know, more organic layout, if you will, and a few fake buildings here. I tried to decorate it. I didn't know at this point when I was doing this that the beaches here were going to be blocked off. I had the intention to decorate them, but then I blocked myself off the beach by accident, and I was like, you know what? This is a happy accident, because now I don't have to work on the beach. I'm sorry if you were expecting some beaches from me. I'm just not a very beach decorating person. But yeah, I just decorated this area with some boxes, some barrels, some yachts, some cars. Very simple, very naturey, I don't know. Very organic. Yeah, that's the word, organic. And you know, I used some wheat fields behind the building, so there's a little bit of lag, but definitely not as much lag as the entrance of the island. If you visit the island and go to the entrance, please be aware that there's going to be a lot of lag. I've never used that many wheat fields, like so many in one place, so I didn't realize how much lag wheat fields give to an island. Probably because they move so much. I mean, there's so many things moving on the wheat fields. I mean, that's the reason that I find for it to make the island become so laggy, you know? Those islands that have huge wheat fields, they're probably super laggy. I've never visited an island with a huge wheat fields. Maybe I should, because they are pretty. I've actually wanted to make an island with a big wheat field for a while now, but those are usually found on farm car islands, and I don't know if I could, how do you say, commit to a full farm car island. I don't know, maybe I'll figure out a way to make a huge wheat field without it being a farm car island. I don't know. I'm currently working on the last bit of the island, which is this forest area and our house. And I usually leave my house for last. I mean, if it's inside of an area that is not like the last thing, obviously I don't work it, like it's not the last thing that I work, but here it was literally the last thing that I worked on before I worked on the villager houses. I mean, the house and also the forest next to it, to just close off this area. I also blocked it off. I tried to make it look like it wasn't blocked off, but it actually is. Yeah, you won't be able to access that beach even if you really want to. Not from the beach, not from this angle either. And I just decorated it just like I decorated the other forested areas. There's really not much of a science when it comes to making a forest. Just put a bunch of stuff, fill it with a bunch of trees, with a bunch of nature, with a bunch of flowers and bushes, and you're good to go. And I'm just including a pool area here. The house is going to be decorated as a retirement home. I think that's how you say it. But it still has a pool because maybe the elders want to go for a swim sometimes, I also hydrogymnastics. Is that how you say it? That's really good for like health related stuff. So maybe that's also something that it's included in the package to live when you come to spend the last days of your life here. Just a fancy retirement home. I love the change of headpiece, but I think that I went on a little treasure island there. That's why I changed it. I went to Arbs Island to customize the lanterns. Yeah. And here are the villager houses. Like I said, I try to bring their personality to the interiors, but also trying to decorate it like if they were from someone that lives here. Because of that, I didn't try to include a lot of rooms on each house. I will use the fake doors, the little designs, so it looks like it has more rooms in the house. And I'll also use the I don't even know what the name of the item is, but it's like, it looks like a staircase. I didn't have a good code to make it look like it was leading to like a division, another division of the house, another level of the house, because I ran out of space, and there was really nothing I could substitute it for. But I think it's, it's okay. You get what I was trying to do. That's all that matters to me. And this is Shep's little living room and also dining room. And here is Peggy. I really like how our house turned out. I think it looks so cute. And I just gave her a living room, but I put some doors, like I said, because open spaces are not common here, maybe in the newer houses, but I ended up not doing any modern looking or contemporary looking houses for the villagers. So I felt like the decoration also had to go along with the exterior of the house. And if the exterior is a little bit more like a classic suburban house, then the interior should also accompany that. And but it's not really the style that I like to decorate my house, but I think it looks good for what it is. And I just kept it very simple. It's easy to walk around. I mean, not all the houses, but somehow, if you've been here for a while, you know that sometimes I go all in with the interiors. So these houses are pretty open, pretty simple looking, and that's not a bad thing. Definitely, it's just different for me. Here I think this is the first house that I did that stair trick little thingy. Ozzy also has a living and dining room here, and then there's going to be some fake doors that lead to other parts of the house supposedly. And just very cute, very simple. Just try to bring out a little personality, try to fill it with stuff that you usually find on a house, and like not be too creative with it, I guess. And I think the houses turned out super cute. Of course that I like some houses more than others, and this one is a little bit, it is what it is. It's not really that fancy or anything. Next up we have Nate's house. This is a little bit more, it's a little darker and heavier because I feel like Nate is kind of an old guy, so I try to decorate his house like an older guy, just heavy furniture, heavy colors, but he also has some money, so yeah, some fancy decor in his house. And even for the AC, I use the darker one. I think it's the first time that I use that colorway. I usually just use the plain white air conditioner, but I was trying to test out things that I don't necessarily include on my islands regularly, because I don't usually do this type of decoration in general. So I was just having fun with the interiors and making the rooms look bigger than I usually do. Leopold, on the contrary, this house is also very dark with dark tones, but it is very cluttered because in my head Leopold is like a professor or something, is always busy with his work, and his house is kind of messy. He brought his office to the main living area because that's just, it spends all his time working, so he might as well just bring it out to the living room. So once he finishes his work, is right next to his couch and right next to his TV, and is probably still going to be watching some documentaries and some news. His TV is always on the news channel, that for sure. And is just a very busy man when it comes to his studies. He has some diplomas, and he has some more stuff. It's just a very cluttered house, but I think it turned out kind of cozy. I kind of like his house. I kind of like his interior. And if you're wondering, the couch, I had to move it a little bit to the side because I couldn't really enter the house, and Tom Nook wouldn't let me save the house with it being, inaccessible. Like, you couldn't really enter it. So I ended up changing it a little bit, but it looks pretty much the same. Don't worry, I didn't really change it. I just changed the couch location a little bit. And this is Hadi's house. She has more of a tropical looking house with more colorful furniture, and also the orange walls and all that. I used the cherry wood. I don't know. I think it's cherry, that tone. And I think it really works. She is so tropical looking. She's so fun looking. And I really wanted to bring that to our house as well. And, it's a simple house, but I think it looks super cute. It's not too classic or anything. It feels like it is like relaxing, And she has a beautiful view. And then we have Gwen's house. I made her house super fancy because I feel like she's such a fancy girl. I used these, how are they called? These furnitures that looks super, super fancy. I used a lot of golden tones and all that. I started with the black for the couch and chair, but then I changed it to white. It was just looking too heavy, especially with that fireplace. I didn't really like the look, and I wanted it to be fancy but also kind of breezy, if you will. Like, it feels like a fancy house next to the beach, even though our house isn't next to the beach. Any of the villager houses is on the beach, but maybe she has this more tropical feel like Audie, but she's not like super vibrant like Audie. She's a little bit more classical. Then we have Molly, and of course I had to give her just a cozy interior. I always try to use this kitchen island with the sink and stove incorporated, but I rarely can use it. I gave up on the idea. Just gave her a regular kitchen. She has the kitchen right next to the living room. She has a smaller house. I mean, since she had a smaller area outside, with her yard, and also Melba, I thought that they could have like a smaller looking house, still put the chairs so it looks a little bit bigger, like there's more to it. But downstairs there's the living room and the kitchen, and I think it makes the whole space look super cozy and super cute, just like our girl Molly, right? I also use that tan botanical wall thing. I think it looked good with all the wood tones, and I think it was the first time that I used that wallpaper, and I gave the white one to Melba. Pretty much the same feel, but more like with a clean approach. I tried to use a lot of whites and light woods and just, just a soft little girl, super, simple, but super cute as well. And I really like how these smaller looking houses look, because I think they look so cozy, right? And I love a good cozy house. So I struggled a little bit to define the transition between the living room and the kitchen. As you can see, I'm moving a lot of stuff around. I wasn't really sure of what I was going to do, because there was just not enough space for the couch and everything. But I think in the end it looks super cute. I ended up changing like that kitchen island basically, and just use very light decor with some pinks, and I think it looks so cute. I think it really just, it's our colors, I can't explain it, but I tried to make it as soft as possible, and I think it turned out super cute. I also gave her like a pink tone to the lights. And then we have glorious house. This is the last house that I'll be working on. She also has a beautiful view to the sky, and I know that the DA is going to be sent at 5 something a.m. and the sky isn't that bright at that hour, but there's really no good 5 a.m. sky. At least I didn't have one. So, I also struggled a little bit with this house because I wanted to have a living room and a dining room, but I also wanted the fireplace. Everything was taking too much space, and some of these interiors were a little bit of a struggle, and some of them I just, I had this vision and I went for it. Sometimes it's like that. It also happened with the rest of the island in general. So, it's just a creative process. Picking the right furniture, picking the right vibe for the house. Also having that fake door there was really like messing up with the layout, because, if I wanted to have the dining room table, where was I supposed to put it? And I just gave up on it. You'll see in a little bit. I gave up on the old dining room idea because I couldn't, it was too much. If I put it there, it was too close to the entrance. It was not working out. I really tried to make it work, but I just couldn't. Some people can take a tiny space and make it look huge and make it like they can put all their ideas inside, and that's awesome. But I'm not that person, unfortunately. I still went with some lighter tones. Just like with Gwen, they're a little bit fancier, but they're also like they like the light tones. I gave the darker tones to the guys, because I feel like that's always something that men do in general. They're always more attracted to darker tones, and women are more attracted to lighter tones. I mean, I'm being generic here, okay? It's not like a rule or anything. I'm not saying it's a rule. I'm just saying that's what I usually find. And here it is. I think it looks really cute, and that carpet, ginormous, but also makes so much sense. And here we have my house interior, and the main room is going to be like a living room and TV room. I'm really sad that those massage chairs, I think that's what they're called, don't come in a lighter tone, because I wanted to use lighter tones for the interiors, just so it doesn't look heavy or anything. And I divided into 2 TV areas. And at first I was going to decorate all the rooms. I had plans for all the rooms, but I really wanted to finish the island, and this house was the last thing that I had to do. So I ended up blocking off 2 of the rooms on the main floor. I'm sorry. Okay, again, I'm blocking a lot of stuff up, but when you're reaching the end and you just want to finish an island, it's kind of hard to stick to all your initial plans, and that wall looks a little bit wonky in my opinion. I wish we had an option for like half partition wall. I think that's what they're called. Instead of being 2 squares wide, being only 1 square wide, I think that would be so awesome. And I think we can all agree that that would come in handy most times. But anyways, I tried to grab a bunch of paintings, just decorate the walls, make it look cozy, make it look inviting with some, the stone floor, but also lots of carpets and all that. This room is going to be like kind of an office and also a doctor's office or a therapist's office, because sometimes the elders need to have physiotherapy and all that. So I also wanted to include that here and make like a specific room for it. And I think it turned out super cute. I started up with one fake door, but I gave up on that idea. Just put a wall there, because then I can put more decorations on the room. And I just put some machinery and some things that you might find on an office or on a doctor's office. This is like a physiotherapy room / office, like for administration, and also for a doctor that maybe comes by like one day per week, I don't know, once a week, and just sees if everyone is doing fine. And I think it turned out cute. I think it's cozy, and I think it serves its purpose. And I really like it. And I tried to use light colors, but also, because the machinery is kind of dark, I also tried to include some darker elements, so everything could, fit in together. And I think it looks good. On the upstairs we have 2 bedrooms, and I'm using the modern hospital beds because they are elders, they need more specific beds. So yeah, it's the first time that I use this church window kind of wallpaper. I know it's kind of weird, but some architecture here has these types of windows, and I wanted to have a window there, and I didn't want to have the same windows everywhere, so I just went with this one. I think it looks good. It's light, it's breezy. The wallpaper also looks super cute with the flowers, and I think it looks like a comfortable, chill place where people can rest for the night. And that's really all I wanted, to be honest. I tried to include some plants and just make it look breezy and accessible, and just a relaxing area, because you need to be relaxed when you're going to sleep, right? I also added some paintings and some wall planters. I know that I use the same paintings over and over again, but what can I say? I don't have that many options in this game, and I didn't have more space for custom designs. And the last room is a kitchen and dining area, and also a little laundry. And I think this area turned out super cute. Also, don't mind me struggling with these glowing in the dark stickers. I can't see what design they have on, so it's kind of hard for me to figure out which ones are the right ones. And I also had to customize some of them as I went because I ran out of the right design. Kind of messy, you know, it's easier when it's the villager houses because you can, you know, duplicate the custom design that you want. Anyways, this kitchen, I wanted it to be a little bit bigger. It ended up being kind of small, but that's okay. That's okay. I also didn't figure out that those walls were not aligned. Finally figured it out. Could fit a little bit more stuff there. Oh my god. Sometimes I don't figure out the most obvious thing, and then I'm looking back and I'm like, can you just figure that thing out because it's so obvious and right in front of you? What is wrong with you, right? And I added this bonsai table just to make it look like they have some kind of activity. Maybe the elders, they take care of those bonsai sometimes, you know, because I feel like they need to be kind of active, you know. They can't just stay in the living room watching TV all day. So I wanted to give them some stuff to do, you know. And I also had some clay models and all that, maybe some arts and crafts activities, but I ended up running out of space. Maybe if I had decorated another room on the main floor, maybe I could have like a crafts room or like a hobby room. But yeah, sorry for the sudden change of lighting. I just had to grab some chairs to finish off the kitchen. And here are all the rooms: the living room and, you know, TV room, the office / physiotherapy room, the bedrooms, and I mean, they're kind of empty, but it is what it is. And the dining room and kitchen and laundry room, super important in a retirement home. And this is Lilac. It's all built. I mean, it's crazy. You know, I started this island months ago and I was seeing it all being built in less than 2 hours. Wow. I hope you enjoyed this speed build, and tomorrow I will also release the DA and have an island tour, which I'm super excited about. I hope you guys visit the island and you can visit along with me. You know, I will also have a custom map on my Instagram page. And you know, if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like it and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And in case that you are watching it tomorrow or, you know, in the next days after I release this video, you can go watch the island tour. I know it was a long one, but I had a lot of fun putting it together. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you next time. Bye!